Welcome to our channel, Crime Loom, the place where true crime stories come alive. From daring jewel heists to mysterious legends, every video uncovers the secrets hidden in the shadows. Stay with us, because here, every crime tells a story. Sometimes, the truth hides in the most ordinary places. A locked drawer, a forgotten notebook, a few scribbled pages. For months, investigators searched for answers and found nothing. But then a single diary surfaced, and inside it, secrets that no one was meant to read. It was the missing diary that exposed lies, revealed hidden motives, and finally pointed to the killer. In this video, we'll uncover how one diary changed everything, how its words turned suspicion into proof, and how it became the clue that solved the crime. The small town of Elmridge had always been quiet, the kind of place where nothing unusual seemed to happen. Families left their doors unlocked, neighbors greeted each other warmly, and children played until the streetlights flickered on. But all of that changed the summer that 17-year-old Anna Pierce vanished. Anna was a bright student, cheerful and full of dreams. She kept a small circle of friends, spent hours at the library, and often wrote in a diary she carried everywhere. That diary, bound in worn leather, was her most private possession. Her mother often teased her about how seriously she guarded it. "One day you'll turn that diary into a book," she'd say with a smile. Anna would laugh, but she never let anyone read it. On the night she disappeared, Anna had been at a friend's house. It was a Friday, and they spent the evening watching movies, eating popcorn, and laughing about the usual things teenage girls laughed about. Around 10:30, Anna said she should go home. Her house was only a 15-minute walk away. She waved. Goodbye, diary tucked in her bag, and stepped into the warm night air. But Anna never arrived home. When her parents realized she was missing, panic set in. They called her phone again and again, but it went straight to voicemail. Her father drove the streets looking for her. Her mother walked from house to house knocking on doors. By morning, the police were called, and the entire town was shaken. Flyers were printed with Anna's smiling face. Volunteers gathered at the school gymnasium, forming search parties to comb through fields, woods, and empty lots. Helicopters circled overhead. Police dogs traced her scent down the main road, but lost it near an alley that led toward the old train tracks. The police interviewed her friends. They described the night as ordinary. Anna had been happy, laughing, with no signs of worry. No one knew what had happened between the moment she left and the moment she was supposed to reach home. Then came the detail that disturbed everyone. Her diary was missing. Her parents swore she had it with her, tucked into her bag as always. But when her bag was later found tossed near the train tracks, the diary was gone. Detectives wondered if someone had taken it deliberately. Was it a clue? Was it something Anna had written that made her a target? As the days passed, rumors spread. Some whispered she had run away. Others feared she had been taken. Teachers said she had been focused on her future, applying for scholarships. Excited about college. Running away didn't fit. The case grew cold quickly. Weeks went by with no answers. The missing diary became an obsession for the police. If they could find it, maybe it would explain everything. But it was as though it had vanished with her. Years passed. Anna's parents never stopped searching. Every year on her birthday, they held a vigil, lighting candles and reading her favorite poems. Her friends grew older, went to college, started jobs, but the memory of Anna never faded. The diary remained a ghostly presence in the story, a missing piece that might have held the truth. 5 years later, a break finally came. A young man renovating his grandfather's house discovered something strange in the attic. Behind a loose board, wrapped in an old cloth, was a leather-bound diary. The first page bore the name Anna Pierce. The police were called immediately. The diary was carefully taken into evidence, every page photographed, every word analyzed. For the first time in years, there was hope. The diary revealed things no one had known. Anna had written about feeling followed on her way home from school. She described a man she had noticed several times, always near the same street corner. She wrote about how his stare unsettled her, how she felt his presence even when she tried to ignore it. One entry read, "He was there again today, near the tracks, watching. I don't know who he is, but I feel like he's waiting for something." But entries grew more disturbing as the weeks went on. Anna described footsteps behind her, shadows moving where no one should have been, a dark car parked near her house at night. Her words painted the picture of a stalker, someone who had been following her for weeks, maybe months. The final entry was the most chilling. Written the night before she vanished, it read, "If anything happens to me, it's because of him. He's getting closer. I can't shake the feeling that he knows everything." Detectives now had a new lead, years after the case had gone cold. The diary was a voice from the past, guiding them toward the truth. They revisited old witness statements, checking for mentions of suspicious men or vehicles. Several residents had once reported seeing a dark sedan near the train tracks late at night. At the time, it hadn't seemed important, but now it matched Anna's entries. Police traced property records, searching for anyone who lived near that corner during the time Anna disappeared. One name stood out, Thomas Gray, a man in his 40s, who had lived alone in a house just blocks away. He had since moved out of town, but his name had appeared in minor police reports, trespassing, harassment, nothing major enough to bring serious attention. But now, with the diary, everything looked different. Detectives tracked him down. Thomas Gray was living 2 towns over, working at a garage. When they approached him, he seemed calm, almost too calm. He admitted remembering Anna, but claimed he barely knew her. When asked where he was the night she disappeared, his answers were vague. He said he was at home, but no one could confirm it. With no body and no direct evidence, police couldn't arrest him yet. But the diary was enough to open a new investigation. For Anna's parents, the discovery was bittersweet. They clutched the diary as though holding her voice once more. Her mother read the final entries again and again, tears running down her face. "She knew," she whispered. She knew something was wrong. The town of Elmridge, long haunted by Anna's disappearance, was pulled back into the story. Old fears resurfaced, old wounds reopened. People who had once put the tragedy behind them now whispered again about the night Anna walked home and never arrived. Detectives followed Thomas closely. They checked his past, interviewing people who had known him. A former co-worker described him as strange, always watching younger women, making comments that unsettled people. Another neighbor recalled seeing him driving late at night near the tracks years ago. Piece by piece, the picture sharpened. The missing diary had given Anna her voice back, and through it, she was pointing directly at the man who had taken her. But without a body, could they ever prove it? The search was renewed. Police dug near the train tracks, combed through the woods, and checked old wells. They searched the property where Thomas once lived. In the backyard, under a patch of uneven soil, they found fragments of fabric, rusted, jewelry, and bones. Forensic testing confirmed the heartbreaking truth. The remains were Anna's. Her diary had led them to her, years after she vanished. The discovery of Anna's remains shattered the town of Elmridge. For years, people had hoped, against reason, that she might still be alive somewhere. Now that hope was gone. Her family wept as the police confirmed the news, clutching her diary as the last words she had ever written. The town came together. In grief, candles lighting the streets as neighbors gathered in silence. But for the detectives, grief had to give way to determination. The diary had been the key that reopened the case. It had given them a suspect, and now it had given them evidence. With the remains identified as Anna's, investigators built their case around Thomas Gray. Thomas was arrested and brought to the station. The quiet, almost smug expression he wore unsettled everyone who saw him. He spoke calmly, denying everything. He said he had never harmed Anna, never followed her, never even noticed her beyond passing her on the street. But detectives knew better. They laid out the diary entries, reading them aloud. They showed him the witness reports about the dark sedan, the co-workers who described his strange behavior, the soil from his old backyard where Anna had been found. For the first time, Thomas shifted uncomfortably in his chair. His calm mask cracked slightly, though he still refused to confess. The case moved quickly to trial, the courtroom filled with townsfolk, journalists, and grieving families. Anna's parents sat in the front row, her mother holding the diary tightly as if Anna herself were there. The prosecutor began by holding it up, calling it the voice that could not be silenced. Page after page was read to the jury. Anna's words painted the picture of fear, of being followed, of sensing danger. The final entry, the one where she wrote that if anything happened, it was because of him, was read in silence so heavy it seemed to crush the air out of the room. Some jurors wiped their eyes. Her parents sobbed quietly. The defense tried to fight back. They argued that diaries were private thoughts, not facts. They claimed Anna may have misunderstood an innocent man. They questioned the validity of memories. Years Old asked if the bones could be proven without doubt to be hers. But the forensic tests were clear, the DNA undeniable. Witnesses testified. A neighbor recalled seeing Thomas near the tracks the very night Anna vanished. A co-worker described his obsession with young girls. Another man admitted that Thomas once boasted he knew things about people in town that no one else did. Piece by piece, the puzzle formed. Anna's diary was the thread that tied it all together. Without it, the case would have remained unsolved. With it, her words reached across time to condemn the man who had taken her life. As the trial stretched on, the weight of the evidence grew too heavy for the defense to dismiss. The jury listened closely, their faces stern. Anna's parents gave testimony about her life, her dreams, and the night she never came home. Her mother said through tears, "This diary is all I have left of her voice, and it led us to the truth." The day the verdict was read, the courtroom was silent. Thomas stood expressionless as the foreman announced, "Guilty of murder in the first degree." Gasps filled the room. Anna's parents clutched each other, tears streaming down their faces. The judge sentenced Thomas Gray to life in prison without parole. For the first time in years, Elmridge breathed again. Justice had come, though it could never bring Anna back. The diary became more than just evidence. It became a symbol. It was displayed at her memorial service, open to the final page. People left flowers beside it, whispering that Anna herself had guided the town to justice. In the months that followed, life slowly returned to the town, though it was never the same. Parents became more protective, watching their children closely. Teenagers walked home in groups instead of alone. People talked about the case often, shaking their heads at the horror of it. For Anna's parents, healing was slow. They kept her room exactly as it had been. Her books, her posters, even her pen resting beside a blank notebook remained untouched. Sometimes her mother would sit in the room, reading passages from the diary out loud, as though speaking to her daughter across the divide. Emma and Lisa, two of Anna's friends, started a campaign in her memory. They called it Anna's Voice, a project dedicated to helping find missing children and teaching young people how to stay safe. They traveled to schools, telling Anna's story, holding up a copy of her diary to remind everyone that words could have power even after death. The town honored Anna with a plaque by the library she loved so much. The inscription read, "Her words revealed the truth." It became a place where people left flowers, candles, and letters. But beyond the memorials, beyond the vigils, The diary itself remained at the center of the story. Police officers who had worked the case admitted it was the most unusual piece of evidence they had ever seen. One detective said, "It was like she was speaking to us directly, like she refused to be forgotten." Even in prison, Thomas Gray never confessed fully. He maintained his silence, refusing to explain why he had targeted Anna, or if there were others. Investigators suspected he had done it before, but without proof, they could not be certain. His refusal only deepened the mystery. But for Anna's family, the mystery no longer mattered as much. They knew what happened to their daughter, they had brought her home, and they had seen justice served. That was all they could ask for. Still, the haunting thought lingered. If the diary had never been found, would the truth ever have come to light? Would Thomas have continued to live freely, a shadow among them? The answer was chilling, and it made the town realize how close they had come to never knowing. Years later, Anna's story was told in documentaries, books, and classrooms. People remembered the diary, the missing pages, the final entry that pointed to her killer. They remembered how her words had outlived her, guiding investigators to the truth. The town of Elmridge carried the memory forward. Each year, on the anniversary of her disappearance, candles lined the streets again. People gathered to read from her diary, to remind themselves of the girl whose words solved the crime. The years after the trial passed slowly, and though justice had been delivered, the weight of Anna's absence never lifted. The people of Elmridge tried to rebuild their lives, but every street corner, every field, and every flicker of a lamppost carried echoes of her story. For Anna's parents, time did not erase pain. It simply taught them how to carry it differently. Her diary remained locked in a glass case at the police department, kept safe as evidence, but also visited by officers who admitted that reading it made them feel as though Anna herself had guided them. Detectives new to the force were told her story during training. "Never ignore small details," one veteran officer would say, pointing at the diary. "Even whispers from the past can solve a case." At the library, where Anna once spent countless afternoons, her memory was everywhere. Children borrowed books in a corner dedicated to her, with a plaque above that read, "Anna Pierce. Her words led us to the truth." Students left handwritten notes there, telling her they still thought of her, thanking her for helping them believe that even in darkness, truth could shine. Her friends continued their campaign, Anna's Voice. It spread beyond Elmridge, reaching schools across the state. Posters reminded young people to walk in groups, to trust their instincts, to write things down if they felt unsafe. "Your words matter," one poster read, with Anna's smiling face beside the text. For many teenagers, Anna's story was their first lesson in caution, their first understanding that danger could hide in ordinary places. The diary itself gained a kind of legend. People who had never met Anna spoke of it as though it carried a kind of power. Some said it was destiny, that it had been found, hidden in an attic years later, waiting to reveal the truth. Others believed it was Anna's way of ensuring she would never be silenced. Whatever the explanation, it had become more than paper and ink. It had become her voice, echoing beyond death. For Thomas Gray, prison was the end of his quiet, shadowed life. He was kept under close watch, his silence unnerving even behind bars. He rarely spoke, and when he did, it was never about Anna. Guards described him as cold, calculating, but powerless. Some inmates despised him, others feared him, but none respected him. He remained alone just as he had lived, and eventually he faded into obscurity behind concrete walls. Years later, he died of illness, leaving behind no confession, no apology, no explanation. His secrets went with him, but it no longer mattered. The truth Anna had written had already destroyed his mask. For Anna's mother, closure came not from his punishment, but from the discovery of her daughter's final resting place. She visited often, leaving flowers and reading passages from the diary. She would sit by the grave and whisper, "Your words saved others, Anna. You saved yourself in the only way you could." Her father tended the site quietly, planting roses that bloomed each spring. It became a place not of sorrow alone, but of remembrance and love. The town changed too. The corner near the tracks where Anna's trail had gone cold was transformed into a small park. A stone marker stood there, engraved with the words, "Truth cannot stay hidden forever." Each year, on the anniversary of her disappearance, the townspeople gathered with candles. They read from her diary, letting her words fill the night air, ensuring she was never forgotten. Documentary crews came and went, telling her story to wider audiences. Each time, her parents agreed to speak, not because they wanted to relive the pain, but because they wanted Anna's life to mean something more than tragedy. If one person listens, if one person learns to be careful, then she is still protecting someone, her father would say. The case became a lesson taught in criminology courses, a reminder that evidence can come in the most unexpected forms. The missing diary had been dismissed at first as just a personal possession, but in the end, it became the key that unlocked the crime. Students studying law enforcement read about it, astonished by how the words of a young girl could have the power to topple lies and reveal the truth. Anna's story spread far beyond Elmridge, but within the town, it was deeply personal. People still spoke of her as though she had only just left, as though she might return at any moment, carrying her diary and laughing with her friends. The memory of her smile lingered in classrooms, at the library, in the diner where she once ate with her family. Her absence was a presence that never faded. Her friends, older now, still carried her with them. Emma, who once sat beside her in class, became a teacher and told Anna's story to her students. Lisa, who had spent summer afternoons with her, became a counselor, reminding young people to write down their feelings, to trust their instincts. Each of them believed that the diary had not only solved the crime, but also given them a way to carry Anna forward in their own lives. The town itself, once known for its silence and simplicity, became known for Anna's story. Visitors came to see the park, to read the plaque, to stand in silence where she had once walked. Locals sometimes resented the attention, but most accepted it as a way of honoring her. Elmridge would forever be tied to the girl whose diary solved her own murder. As years turned into decades, the story did not fade. New generations learned it from their parents, from books, from the memorials that kept her memory alive. The diary was preserved in a museum exhibit eventually, its pages protected, but its words shared. Visitors leaned over the glass, reading her handwriting, feeling the shiver of truth in every line, and through it all, the final entry remained the most haunting, the most powerful. "If anything happens to me, it's because of him. He's getting closer. I can't shake the feeling that he knows everything." Those words, written in fear, had become the words that revealed the killer, the words that brought justice, the words that carried her voice beyond silence. In the end, Anna Pierce never came home, but her story did not end in shadows. Her diary carried her voice through time, solving the crime that might otherwise have remained a mystery forever. Behind the fear, behind the loss, there was courage. Behind the silence, there were words that spoke louder than her absence. And so, in Elmridge and beyond, the story of the missing diary became a reminder that truth has a way of breaking free, that secrets cannot remain hidden forever, and that sometimes the smallest, most fragile thing, a young girl's diary, can be powerful enough to reveal the darkest of crimes. You've just seen another chilling story from the world of true crime, but there are many more secrets waiting to be uncovered. Subscribe to Crime Loom. and join us as we unravel more heists, mysteries, and untold legends. Don't miss what's coming next, because in the world of crime, the truth is always stranger than fiction.